Hello guys and welcome to another MK Mobile character review, today featuring the one and only Klassic Raiden. As usual guys, please note the date when this video has been recorded because a lot of things may have changed since then, and if you're not familiar with the matrix I'm using in order to evaluate characters, you can find it on the top right corner of the screen. So without any further ado, let us put Klassic Raiden to the test. Klassic Raiden guys was released on the 7th of September 2016, and he alongside Ravenous Melina and Hellspawn Scorpion was one of the very first diamonds that spearheaded the diamond invasion in MK Mobile. So let's take a look at his stats. His attack is 54,251, which is the 19th highest in the game. The hit points, they are 120,557 and they rank 10th in the game. The toughness is 53,563, the 5th highest in MK Mobile, and the recovery is 41,769, which is the 21st highest in the game, but we don't really care about recovery as we have mentioned on numerous occasions. And of course the power generation is 130%. As you can see, Klassic Raiden doesn't have bad stats, but he definitely doesn't excel there as well, so he's going to get 23.8 out of 28 possible points. Special one of Klassic Raiden guys is called Thunderfly. It is one of the best abilities in the game by far. What you need to know about it that first, it is completely unblockable. It has Dispel as, I would say, buff because this ability actually dispels all negative debuffs on you, for example, Snare, Bleed, Fire, and so on and so on. The ability can be cast from distance, even at long range it will connect. It is lethal, it consists of only one attack, and it has the horizontal or vertical swipe as mini-game. When it comes to damage, the damage of the attack is 17,902, which ranks 28 in the game, and the maximum damage is 35,805, which is the 27th highest in MK Mobile. Once again, let's repeat the properties of the ability. It is completely unblockable, it has Dispel as buff, it can be cast from distance, it is lethal, it consists of only one mini-hit, and it has the horizontal or vertical swipe as mini-game. So for his special one, Thunderfly, Klassic Raiden is going to get 9.5 out of 13 possible points. Special Raiden guys is called Power Discharge. What you need to know about it is that the second part of it is unblockable, but the good news is that the second part of it deals a more amount of damage. It is actually the part that follows the mini game. The ability has Weaken as debuff, which is not the best but definitely not the worst debuff, and it helps Raiden in numerous situations because he's kind of squishy, and if the enemy is weakened, that is perfect news for him. The special attack can be cast from distance, even though the first two mini attacks will miss, but this is not a big deal because they almost deal no damage compared to the rest. The special attack is lethal, it consists of so many mini hits that I couldn't really count them, definitely more than 10, definitely even more than 15. And this is something important that I need to address here guys, because of the numerous mini hits of this special attack, it will be almost certain that this special attack will trigger the enemy Revenant if the enemy is very low on HP. What I mean is, this is how I think Revenant works by the way. You have a chance to apply Revenant if you take lethal hit, I mean hit that should be killing you. In the case of Klassic Raiden, imagine that the enemy is low. By the way, you're currently seeing I'm fighting enemy Klassic Liu Kang. Klassic Liu Kang is already low. I'm starting my special 2. And you can see I'm going to freeze it now. Klassic Liu Kang is on the ground. He is already basically dead, but my special 2 keeps on and on and on, and I'm going to hit Klassic Liu Kang while he's on the ground. And you can see the first mini hit, 13,000 damage. His health is still the same. The second mini hit, 4,000 damage. The third mini hit, another 4,000 damage. And then the mini hit just stop appearing because the enemy Revenant is triggered. So what I mean is each one of those 13,000, 4,000 and 4,000 should be lethal. So each one of those has 30% chance to activate Revenant. So if the first one fails, then we try on the second one. And if the second one fails, then we can try on the third one until eventually one of those mini hits will trigger the enemy Revenant. At least this is how I think it works, and you can notice that yourselves, guys. If you're playing a Classic Raiden, just test it. Every time when the enemy is very low, try to do special 2. You can see that 99% of the cases the enemy will have his Revenant triggered. The rare cases that this won't happen will be probably due to the fact that the enemy won't have Revenant. With that said, the only thing I have to cover when it comes to the special attack is that it has the multi-tap circles as minigame, which is a relatively easy minigame. When it comes to damage, the minimum damage of the ability is 44,757, which is the 26th highest in the game, and the maximum damage is 85,933, which ranks 30th. Once again, the special attack can be partially blocked by the biggest part of it is unblockable. It has Weaken as debuff, it can be cast from distance, it is lethal, it consists of tens of mini hits, and it has the multi-tap circles as minigame. So for his special 2, Klassic Raiden is going to get 13.1 out of 19 possible points. The X-ray of Klassic Raiden, guys, is called Shock Therapy, and it is one of the best looking X-rays in the game, and on top of that it's pretty useful because you can cast it from distance, even at long range it will be fine, and it has very useful buff power generation, which as you well know is going to be applied to the entire friendly team. In addition, the damage of the X-ray is only 107,416, which is quite low for a diamond, but after all, it doesn't really matter because it is an X-ray, so it's not that important. Once again, the ability has power generation as buff, and it can be cast from distance. So for his X-ray, Raiden is going to get 3.8 out of 4 possible points, and the total amount of points he gets for his special attacks adds up to 26.3 out of 36 possible. Now, it won't be an exaggeration, guys, if I tell that Klassic Raiden's basic attacks are flawless, they are perfect, they are great. Seriously, he is one of those characters, those few characters in the game who don't need block breaking gear because they're just great. Their basic attacks are perfect once again. Look at this, guys, the enemy cannot really touch me. What I'm doing, I'm spamming my basic attacks over and over again, and the enemy gets pushed away from me every single time. It doesn't matter whether he's blocking or not. And this is the thing, I don't need block breaking gear because I can easily get to another special 1 or another special 2 by just hitting the enemy. It is a never-ending cycle, guys. Klassic Raiden alongside with Injustice 2 Raiden is one of the best characters in the game when it comes to basic attacks. And the reason why I'm not giving him the full amount of 10 points is because the combo ender of Injustice 2 Raiden simply generates slightly more power. And that is why Klassic Raiden, guys, is going to get 9.9 out of 10 possible points for his basic attacks. I still regard Injustice 2 Raiden as the character with the absolutely best basic attacks in the game. The passive of Raiden, guys, is called Divine Wrath, and here it is what it does. Each time Raiden tags in, lightning strikes the active opponent, removing 40% of their current health and 66% of their power. Raiden also counts as Outworld and Martial Artist. Now, where do I begin here, guys? In my eyes, this is one of the best passives in the game. It is just mind-blowing. Klassic Raiden's passive is everything I want to see in a diamond character. He is versatile, he is powerful, he can be an absolute beast combined with classic Liu Kang Hellspawn Scorpion, but he can shine in almost any team thanks to his amazing passive. In fact, he is just not Netherrealm and Nomad, but as you know, Nomad is not really a class. Being a Nomad means that you can join all other classes. So I mean, you cannot really put him in a Netherrealm team. I mean, you can, but he cannot be really supported because he doesn't belong to this class. So I really love this part of his passive. And when it comes to the first part of his passive, the bread and butter of this character, his devastating tagging attack, it is amazing. Unfortunately though, they recently nerfed it so that you cannot use it in towers against bosses. But apart from that, it works pretty fine. Now, there are three things that I have to address here. The first thing is, of course, you have to time the Raiden tagging attack, because if you don't do that, if you don't tag in at the correct time, you can miss the entire thing, as you can see right now. The second thing is, after a successful tagging attack, you can take advantage of the fact that the enemy will be briefly stunned, let's call it this way, and you can use this opportunity in order to start chaining your basic attacks. It will work in 99% of the cases, and as you well know, Raiden has great basic attacks. And the third thing is how the passive really works, in the sense that you deal less damage if the enemy has higher toughness. Now let's put this to the test, and you can see the enemy has lower toughness than my Raiden attack. So I'm going to tag in my Classic Raiden, and as you are currently seeing, I am dealing exactly 40% damage. I mean, I'm removing 40% damage of his current health. So one can say that if your attack is higher than enemy toughness, the passive works perfectly. However, let's check the other two scenarios. Currently, I am facing the enemy Liu Kang, who has 52,000 toughness, and my Raiden Steel has 57k attack. So we automatically assume that the Raiden tags in attack should remove 40% of the current health of Liu Kang. However, this doesn't happen. Maybe because this account looks strange and suspicious, or maybe because toughness doesn't play a role here. But let's take another look at this. Currently, we are going to test this against Scorpion, who has lower toughness than our Raiden's attack, and this Scorpion doesn't belong to this suspicious account, so this account looks perfectly legit. We tag in our Raiden, and in the end we find out that our tagging attack just dealt 43,500 damage, which is around roughly 30% of Scorpion's health. It is still far away from 40, and yet this Scorpion definitely had lower toughness than our attack. Let's make another check, and for the final check we have Circle Shadow Liu Kang as an opponent who has definitely higher toughness. As you can see, he has 67,800 toughness, which is by far higher than our Raiden's attack. So what happens is, again, we tag in Raiden and we removed 64,754 health, which is roughly around 40% of the total health of Circle of Shadow Liu Kang. So is toughness important when it comes to Raiden's passive? I mean, based on that, I don't think so. So what is important? The answer is, I'm sorry, but I don't know. But apart from that, guys, this passive is amazing, so it definitely deserves full amount of 20 points. Classic Raiden can join 4 classes, so he gets 4 points for classes and 2 points for tagging attack. Okay guys, it is time to answer the $1 million question. Is Classic Raiden a good character? And the answer is very clear. Of course he is. Let's take a look at the bigger picture, guys. Classic Raiden has pretty nice stats, not the best, but pretty serviceable. He also has, though, one of the best basic attacks in the game, one of the best special attacks in the game. Remember, both of them can be cast from distance, both of them are unblockable or partially unblockable and have useful buffs and debuffs. On top of that, he has amazing passive, great tagging attack, and he can join almost any class in the game. So all in all, he is a perfect character, really great character. You can use him everywhere. Unfortunately though, recently they nerfed the part of his passive and he cannot be used against bosses in towers. For example, when he tags in, he doesn't remove 40% of bosses' current health. But think about it, if they allow this to happen, it would have been really too OP. But despite of that, his passive is still great. You can simply cripple your enemies by just tagging in and out. And if you actually combine in a team Liu Kang with, Classic Liu Kang with Classic Raiden, you can literally cripple them on tagging, power drain them on tagging, and just remove huge part of their health. And yeah, I don't really know what to add here. Classic Raiden is by far one of the best characters in the game. Definitely, in my opinion, top 5 best characters in the game. And he's going to get the full amount of my subjective points, 3 out of 3. And with them, he's going to score the mind-blowing 90.0 sharp points, which means that we can label him as a perfect character. In our current standings, guys, he ranks 3rd, just below Black Dragon Cabal and just above MK11 Sub-Zero. I think he really deserves it. 90 points, considering the fact that I didn't give him anything extra, even though he deserves it. So Classic Raiden, final verdict, perfect character. Okay guys, we got to the gameplay. Now, Classic Raiden, unlike the popular opinion guys, Classic Raiden is a decent starter, and the reason for that is because he has Dispel, so if he gets snared or if he's set on fire, if he's bleeding, he can dispel all of those things. Unfortunately though, he cannot dispel Stun or Cripple, so you have to keep that in mind, but still, you shouldn't be using him as an opener. You should be using him as an opener only if you don't have any other option and the other two characters totally suck as openers. Because of course he relies on often tagging in and out, and having him as an opener is not really the best idea. But once again, he can handle the starting position pretty good. When it comes to the characters that he counters, I would say that he counters characters that mainly rely on a lot of power, such as for example Shao Kahn, and any other character that, let's say, start with X-Ray, or character that give a lot of power to other characters, for example Hellspawn Scorpion. I mean, you get the idea. And when it comes to characters that counter him, I cannot really think of one. I mean, he doesn't really have great counters. Even if you take characters that cannot be power drained, such as Classic Liu Kang, Classic Raiden's passive can still remove 40% of his current health. And the same applies for Dark Raiden. Even though Dark Raiden has such low stats that it really doesn't matter. Probably Special 2 of Dark Raiden will take 1/3 of Classic Raiden's hit points, so it doesn't really count as a counter. So yeah, Classic Raiden, I don't think he has really bad matchups. And we got to the items guys. Now just consider the fact that his passive relies on his attack and enemy toughness, which I cannot guarantee that this is the case, but let's assume that this is the case. If we agree on that, then you should give him Rathammer, because you need to make sure that you give 20% attack boost to Raiden, so that the enemy won't have higher toughness than his attack. So his passive will be as effective as possible. So the Rathammer is a must. Then you can give him his item, the Storm Hat, for additional toughness and for additional power generation. And the other two items guys are totally up to you. You can give him Bloody Voodoo Doll, you can give him Quarry Blade, you can give him even Devastator. It doesn't matter really, depending on his position and depending on his playstyle. I would only advise guys, do not give him block breaking gear. He doesn't need it. He has his passive, he has his amazing basic attacks that really don't require block breakers, so it will be a waste on him. Okay guys, we got to the teams. Now, in my opinion, the very best team with Classic Raiden is Classic Liu Kang, Classic Raiden and Hellspawn Scorpion. This team is absolutely unbeatable. It's probably the best team in the game. It is a beast. It cannot be countered. It is just amazing. And if you want to know if there are any other great teams using Classic Raiden, the answer is yes, there are so many teams. In fact, he can shine in almost any team, like almost any team, if not any team. However, there is one particularly funny team involving Classic Raiden, that's 3 Raidens. Classic Raiden, Dark Raiden and Injustice 2 Raiden. Basically, I call this team the Electrocutors, because all you have to do is spam the Grapple Special 2 and your Raidens will be constantly electrocuting your enemies, and it is quite fun by the way. But once again, Classic Raiden is a great character, he's a very versatile character and he can fit in absolutely any team in MK Mobile. Okay guys, Classic Raiden, what do you think of him? Do you like him? Do you dislike him? Please let me know in the comments. Once again, he scored 90 points sharp and we labeled him as a perfect character. As usual guys, if you want to see more reviews, you can find the playlist on the top right corner of the screen. And if you want to know which is the next on-demand review coming in, you can find the list in the description of this video. See you next time guys. Take care and stay safe.
I do not approve. Outstanding. Perfect.